Everyone, my name is Kayla. I have a Bachelor of Health Science Naturopathy, and I'm a naturopath at Kayla the Nurturing Naturopath. Welcome to my podcast, Awareness. And today I have Clementine from Heart of the Nation joining me. Hi, Clementine, how are you?
Hi, thanks for letting me come on your podcast. It's great.
No,
Great to be
no,
here.
thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Could you tell us what Heart of the Nation is?
Yeah, Heart of the Nation is an Australian charity and social enterprise in which our mission is to essentially turn everyday Aussies from bystanders into responders when it comes to sudden cardiac arrest.
It's been really important. And what is your story?
Back in 2020, our CEO and founder, Greg Page, the original Yellow Wiggle, was doing a charity concert for the Black Saturday bushfires at the Castle Hill RSL when at the end of the show, he actually collapsed and went into sudden cardiac arrest while on stage in front of the entire crowd. Um, the only way that he is still around today is because people around him went and just stepped into immediate action and started CPR, called 000, and went and found an AED, which is an automated external defibrillator, and brought it to the team that were helping him to restart his heart. So it took 2 shocks of the AED to bring him back. And right afterward, the paramedics managed to step in. So it's a prime example of how call, push, and shock. So calling 000, pushing into the chest for CPR, and shocking someone with an AED buys them at least some time before the paramedics can arrive and also can help them survive a sudden cardiac arrest. So he came to in the hospital, and of course it was a very confusing and confronting experience, and his wife, being a cardiac nurse, let him know what had happened. And he in fact had no idea of how severe cardiac arrest and sudden cardiac arrest are within the country. So that's how he started Heart of the Nation, was because of this pure luck of the right people, like the people around him knowing exactly what to do. It's the only reason that he's around. And so he wanted to ensure that the survival rate can increase when it comes to sudden cardiac arrest around the country, because it is very, very abysmal at the moment.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, that was a huge story, and it was lucky, that
Yeah.
bystanders around jumped in when they did, and yeah.
Yeah, because right now at the moment, the stats are the latest stats that have just been released, I think only a month and a half ago. It's over 32,000 Australians suffer a sudden cardiac arrest every year. The survival rate is only 5%.
Gee.
So 95% of people in this country at the moment that have a sudden cardiac arrest outside of hospital will not survive. But it's all about that quick action that could help people survive from that. So that's part of our mission.
And I was going to ask you what your mission was, but you already answered that, so thank you kindly.
That's all
And
right.
what is your vision?
Yeah, so if our mission is to turn everyday Aussies from bystanders into responders when it comes to sudden cardiac arrest, our vision is to see a publicly accessible AED within 1 minute of every location in Australia. And the reason for 1 minute within every location is because survival rates will decrease by 10% every minute that someone doesn't receive CPR and a shock from an AED. It's a twofold approach when it comes to that. So those AEDs have to be accessible 24/7 in order for that to happen.
Important. And what is cardiac arrest, and is it the same thing as a heart attack?
All right, well, we're going to get a little bit nerdy, but we're going to make it as easy as possible so that anybody can understand the difference between a heart attack and a sudden cardiac arrest, because that's one of the biggest misconceptions that we see within the general public. So if you think about your heart's actually about the size of your fist. And if you think about it, it's pumping, right? So let's consider a heart attack, which is not the same as a cardiac arrest, is a plumbing issue within your heart. So if your heart is a house and you have a heart attack, it's your pipes are clogged. So a heart attack is when you have plaque that clogs your arteries, but your heart is still able to pump. When you have a heart attack, You can suffer chest pains, numbness in your arm, etc. But you are still breathing and you are still conscious. And you can tell someone, please get me help. I think I'm having a heart attack. All right. So if that's the heart attack and it's a plumbing issue, cardiac arrest is an electrical issue. So it quivers. It's not pumping. Your heart is not pumping. You therefore are not getting blood and oxygen pumped to your organs. You are also not conscious. You are not breathing normally, if at all. You may have a gurgling noise or you sound like you're snoring, but your chest isn't rising because right now, for example, you're breathing normally. It's quiet. It's steady. You won't be breathing normally whatsoever, if not at all. But most importantly, someone that's in cardiac arrest cannot call for help.
Yeah.
It is up to people that are around them to step into action immediately, call 000. Even if they suspect a cardiac arrest, call 000, get the paramedics there as soon as possible and start CPR and also find an AED. So that is the difference between a heart attack and a cardiac arrest. So if you think about a plumbing issue versus electrical issue.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Did that work? Is it a good explanation?
Yeah, that was really good, really clear and concise.
Great.
Thank you. So what do you do if someone is having a cardiac arrest? Like you said, you just jump into action.
Yeah. So if the symptoms of sudden cardiac arrest, like I've said, are that the person can't cry for help, they're not breathing, and they're not conscious. So first of all, you obviously are going to try and see if you can wake them up, so you're going to grab their shoulders, squeeze their hands, you can clap in front of them, say their name if you know it quite loudly. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? If they don't make any sort of motions or any noises, like as if in response, you immediately jump into calling 000 or your emergency services number. From there, you then start to push hard and fast into the chest, which is performing CPR, which you do not have to be trained in CPR to do it. The 000 call taker actually coaches people through CPR so that they know exactly what they're doing and they have somebody there guiding them. And then you have to shock someone with an AED. So call, push, shock. If you have someone with you when this happens, when you call 000, you can send that person for the nearest AED if they know where it is. Because the 000 call taker is probably going to ask you, is there an AED nearby? If there is one, go get it. And then they're going to coach you through CPR. So the things that you have to remember is call, push, shock, which is what we call the chain of survival.
And why are what are AEDs and why are they so important?
So AED stands for Automated External Defibrillator. And it's not like the ones that you see in the movies, for example, which are the giant pads that they stick onto someone. Those are only really used in hospitals and in ambulances. An AED is a device that can shock the heart back into a normal beating rhythm that anyone can use. It's so easy. All you have to do is just turn it on and it's going to tell you what to do with the machine. On the pads themselves that you place on certain areas of the chest, there's even a diagram as to where you need to properly place it. There's a prep kit if this person's quite hairy on their chest. You can shave the hair. You don't necessarily have to. But the AED's job is to detect if there is a shockable heart rhythm. So if we go back to how this heart quivers, right? And this is an electrical problem. Eventually that quiver is going to fade away and it's going to completely stop. You need to have that quiver in order for the AED to detect that shockable rhythm, because the quiver is the shockable rhythm. So that's why CPR is so important, because you are still pumping blood into the chest and you're keeping that activity in the heart. You're keeping the heart moving so that the AED has enough time to go and detect that heart rhythm. So the automated part is it's a computer that's so smart that it'll be able to detect that rhythm and, if possible, will shock the person. It will not shock you if it has a normal beating rhythm. So you and I could put an AED on ourselves right now. It's not going to shock us. You can't actually hurt somebody with an AED as well. It's that smart that it's not going to shock someone if they don't need it, but also it's not going to harm someone if you play around with it. It's impossible to harm someone with it.
I think that's sort of what everyone's, scared about. What if I put it on someone
Yeah.
and, yeah.
Yeah, it's not, it's there and it will detect. It is a very, very smart machine. But it's so important because if you think about back to that house analogy with the heart and you're quivering, CPR is the backup generator. So it's keeping things on until help gets there with the
Yeah.
AED. The AED is that power that restarts the power there. If you don't get that shock, the CPR can only last for so long.
Yeah.
You need the shock from an AED in order to restart the heart.
Yeah. And suffer a cardiac arrest.
So not to fear monger or anything like that, but a sudden cardiac arrest can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. One of the other biggest myths that we have to try and dispel is that sudden cardiac arrest is an old person problem. Mm-hmm. It's not. There are studies coming out now that show that sudden cardiac arrest is one of the top killers for people under the age of 45. We know of, yes, we have actually worked with several young adults that have had a sudden cardiac arrest for absolutely no reason while they're playing frisbee on the football field, or they're hanging out with their friends and suddenly they simply collapse and they go into cardiac arrest. And they've been lucky that somebody has been around them that knew where an AED was and that knew how to perform CPR before the paramedics arrive. Yeah. So yeah, it really is. It's actually quite daunting when you hear that it can happen to anyone at any time, and there's not necessarily an explained reason why it does happen.
Yeah, and like you said, people think it only happens to older people, but you hear of these, young athletes, it's happening to more and more.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 18 months or 2 years ago, for example, in the States, Darren Hamlin is a pro football player, NFL, so gridiron. He had a cardiac arrest on the field in the middle of a game.
Yes.
So that millions of people were watching as he went into cardiac arrest, and the chain of survival was performed. It can literally happen to absolutely anybody.
Yeah. And you said that the survival rate is less than 5%. Is that correct?
So an out of hospital cardiac arrest, so a cardiac arrest that occurs outside of a hospital. Currently, the stat is in Australia is 32,000 people suffer a sudden cardiac arrest every year. And yeah, from our calculations, it's 5%. It, of course, increases. The survival rate does increase when CPR is performed, and increases even further when an AED is there to help.
And what is CPR?
CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So it's essentially you're manually pumping the heart. You are being the backup generator for the house of your body, essentially. So it's just designed to be able to pump that blood and oxygen through your body to keep your organs alive.
And obviously it's required to be used on someone when, like you were saying, they're going into sudden cardiac arrest, so you need to do it to sort of start that. And then if possible, the defib comes in.
Correct, yes. So CPR, you use CPR purely during sudden cardiac arrest to keep blood and oxygen flowing through the body to keep your organs alive.
And like you were saying before, you don't need training or qualifications because when you're in 000, they talk you through it if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. So you don't need any formal training to perform CPR. Anybody can perform CPR, and any attempt at resuscitation is better than none. So like we've said before, a 000 call taker will guide you through CPR. And even if you have an AED there, when you've put it on, when you've turned it on and it's telling you what to do, they actually have a metronome to guide you on the beat and the rhythm that you need to perform CPR. So there are tools there to help people when they need it when it comes to performing cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
And I guess a lot of people worry that they'll injure someone or make them worse, but like you said, doing something is better than not doing anything.
Yeah. So going back to the training and certification, that's one of the other myths that we try to dispel. You don't need to be qualified. Yes, you can get certification for CPR and you need to renew that every year. And some people need that for their workplaces. But the other myth that we need to dispel big time is the fear of injuring someone when you are performing CPR. The thing is that when you're performing CPR, you will there is a likelihood that you'll crack ribs and you'll hear it. It's not a great, you're already in a very high stress situation. So you don't want to hurt the person anymore. But if you think about it, you'd rather have that person alive with
Yeah,
cracked ribs
yeah,
than not around.
that's right. Exactly.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah, so true. Could you please tell us about your app?
Yeah. So we have the Heart of the Nation app. So within that app, you can find the nearest AEDs to you within a 10-kilometer radius, and we grade them according to accessibility. So it will show you the address of the AED, whether it's available 24/7 or if it's available within business hours, for example. As well as some information that you may need to give, say, for example, to the triple call taker, etc. You can also call 000 from the app, as well as alert vetted responders to come and help you. And by vetted responders, what I mean is people that have volunteered with us. Essentially, they've signed up, and we have done an ID check about them, because obviously we don't want to send anybody to you.
Yes.
But there are people that are willing to come and help during a sudden cardiac arrest emergency. They're the ones that can go and get the AED for you, for example. So from there, you can call 000 and it'll immediately alert any nearby responders that there's been an incident, and that they need to come and help you. And so they can get the AED and get there, or even relieve you of CPR so you can take a bit of a break. That way, that person's still getting continuous CPR. You can take a breather for a minute. You can talk to the triple call taker, et cetera. But the biggest component of the app is that you can see nearby AEDs and their accessibility within a 10-kilometer radius.
Oh, that's fantastic. Could you please tell us about your trainings?
Yeah, so part of our mission and vision is obviously having those accessible AEDs, but we also know that people build confidence when they get some learnings or some training from people that have either obviously have certification, or even that are incredibly knowledgeable about CPR. So we can provide certified CPR and first aid training to groups of 10 or more. Or we also do, when you purchase an AED through us, we can also provide an info session and teach you about CPR and AEDs, but of course that's not certified. So we've got a mix of it. So you can do the train sessions and get certified with a group of 10, whether that's 10 work people, 10 workmates, 10 of your neighbors, you name it, 10 or more, we can do a certified training anywhere in the country for you. And with that training, you can either do it as an all-day course if you want to do first aid and CPR, or we also provide a hybrid training. So you do all the theory online in your own time, and then you do the assessment and review in person over the course of about 4 hours. So that way it's a little bit more flexible for people that are working. But so you either have that type of training, or we can do info sessions when you purchase an AED with us.
Brilliant. And how can people get involved with Heart of the Nation Australia?
So there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved with us. You can donate to us, as we are a registered charity with the ACNC. You can also fundraise for AEDs as well within your community. So, AEDs, they're not cheap, but they are priceless when it comes to the lives that they save. And if there isn't an accessible AED within your area, then you can fundraise to purchase one. We're also launching a program that we call the System to Save Lives, which goes through an entire process where community members can go and find AEDs that are in their community. And if they're not registered, work with the owner of the AED to get them registered. Then we can work with them to find the gaps within their community where an AED is needed. Because again, we want to see AEDs within 1 minute of every location in Australia. because seconds count when it comes to a sudden cardiac arrest. So we would work with them on finding those gaps and finding people that are willing to host those AEDs, because obviously if you want it accessible, you might need it on someone's property. You might need it on the outside of the building. You might need to work with council, for example, to find the prime spot. But then we also will help you fundraise for those AEDs. So we do have fundraising options if you're looking to purchase an AED as well. And then from there, we can help with training and spreading the awareness around your community about A, the AED and its location, and then B, how do you use it and what you need to do if someone goes into cardiac arrest. Because like I said, seconds count, and sometimes within a community, you can't necessarily just wait for help. You are the one who's going to help. So the whole aim of that system is to make CPR the norm, AEDs completely accessible, and action a requirement, not an exception.
Yeah, so important.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways that you can support us, from donations to sponsorship to getting your training done with us to getting AEDs into your community as well.
That's cool, so much going on. Do you have a shop?
Yes, we do. So you can purchase AEDs through us as well. Like I said before, we are a registered charity, but we're also a social enterprise. So part of our income is not our income's not necessarily just from grants and donors and such. We also have our income coming in as a not-for-profit is from people purchasing our AEDs. So if you just go to heartofthenation.com.au/shop, you can see all the list of AEDs there. It might seem a little bit daunting at first because there's quite a variety of AEDs, but we're here to help and support anybody every step of the way. So we do have resources to help you choose the right AED. And we're always here as well if you want to just give us a phone call and ask any of your questions to one of our experts.
Mm-hmm. And like you said before, people can donate, and how do they help you guys, the donations?
The donations can help from anywhere from printing off our yellow stickers that we send to organizations that have registered their AED on the app and on our national register, to actually donating AEDs within the community. We do get a lot of applications from people saying that they want to have an AED. There's not one within their community, but they can't afford to buy one and they don't have necessarily avenues to fundraise. So we do sometimes get those applications in. So any small donation actually helps from the operations of the business to making AEDs more visible and accessible, such as even printing the signs that I have behind me, and also designing and purchasing these cabinets. It also helps with, keeping the app alive and maintaining it, because while it's a piece of technology, there's a lot of work that goes into the background of maintaining over 8,500 AED locations on that map. So a little donation goes a long way, no matter which way, no matter how much and how little you donate. So yeah.
Hopefully people listening to this will be able to donate, and like you said, every little bit counts. So
yeah. And if donation's not an option, give us a call and just say, hey, if we'd like to help, how can we do it? And we can send you information and resources on how to start investigating within your community where those AEDs are, and work with us to get more in the community.
Beautiful. Is there anything you want to recap or talk about that we haven't spoken about?
Just remember, call, push, shock if anyone goes into sudden cardiac arrest. And any attempt at resuscitation is better than none. Those are the two very key things. And also, heart attack is not a sudden cardiac arrest, and the O call takers are there to help. But call, push, shock, and any attempt at resuscitation is better than none.
Yeah, so important. And for further information, should people go to your website and your Facebook page?
Yeah. So you can come to our Facebook page, which is, I believe that the handle is Heart Nation Oz, so Heart Nation AUS. We're also on Instagram at the same handle, TikTok, LinkedIn, and also YouTube. And if you head to our website at heartofthenation.com.au, you can find heaps of information there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, making us more aware about Heart of the Nation. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you everyone for listening. Have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.